to Barbados.
That is why you have the Latin Americans setting up, for example, their own development bank. That is why the BRICS countries are setting up their own development bank. That is why China is setting up its own bank, because the Bretton Woods outfit of 1944 that has served the world between then and now has shown serious weaknesses and has shown an incapacity to respond to the challenges that countries like ours face.
Well, Prime Minister Stewart says economic growth predicted for Barbados in comparison to countries like the Dominican Republic and Haiti needs to be put into context. He's confident that Barbados is now on the right path.
In the context of Barbados, I am satisfied that we've moved from a position where we were talking about no growth at all to talking about 0.8% growth, with a projection for 1% growth next year. Well, I think we are on the way back.
According to that IMF report, the local economy is projected to grow by only 0.8% this year, with 1.4% growth expected next year. St. Lucia is in the same boat as Barbados. That country next year is projected to grow by some 1.4%. The Dominican Republic leads the Caribbean with projected growth of 5.1% this year and 4.5% come 2016. Now, Haiti leads the CARICOM group with growth of 3.8% expected for next year. Well, meantime, we hear that Barbados is ranked favorably among dozens of countries making outstanding progress in the area of food security. The country is meeting the requirements of the first Millennium Development Goal that includes keeping undernourishment among the population to a minimum. Prime Minister Stewart made the announcement at the opening of Phase 8 of the Youth in Agriculture project at the Bayville Community Center this morning. He revealed that he recently received an invitation from the director of the Food and Agriculture Organization, inviting him to attend a special meeting in Rome on June 7th.
Barbados is one of 72 countries in the world that since the year 1990 has been able to be recognized as making notable and outstanding progress in keeping undernourishment below the 5% threshold set by the FAO, and therefore we are seen as one of the 72 countries that satisfied a critical component of Millennium Goal number 1.
And the Youth in Agriculture program is being put on by the Office of the Advisor on Poverty Eradication and Millennium Development Goals. And according to Undine Whitaker, the initiative is more than learning about agriculture. She says the care and counseling component of that program is also showing signs of success.
And our exit survey reveals that we have one young man who has graduated into the Royal Barbados Police Force. We have several others who are guards at varying institutions and ministries, and that tells us that our disciplinary aspect of the program is also working, because we don't only teach agricultural skills, we ensure that anger management, conflict resolution, and counseling, they are integral parts of our program.
Well, it was back to the classroom for hundreds of first to fourth formers of the Combermere School today. They're being housed temporarily at the Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic this week. It was a mini break of sorts for the students as the Waterford institution was closed to undergo industrial cleaning and work to retrofit some areas in a bid to solve environmental problems there. Kish Morrison-Juice was at the SJPP in Wildy where he filed this report.
It was up and on to the Samuel Jackman Prescott Polytechnic here in Wildy for hundreds of Combermere students, as this Wildy St. Michael institution was transformed to accommodate them.
From as early as 7, parents were dropping off their children at the SJPP. Buses were also busy ferrying students from Waterford, Oistins, Speightstown and the Ministry of Education in historic Bridgetown. A total of 714 students, 60 plus teachers and 20 ancillary staff are being accommodated at the Polytechnic. Principal Vera Paris says all was done this morning to make day 1 at the SJPP as normal as possible.
The settling seems to have gone reasonably well. Perhaps there were more students who arrived at the Waterford compound to be transported here by the Barbados Transport Board than anticipated, because a number of parents apparently, when they heard that transport will be originating there as well, rather than bring them here, they dropped them there. And so there were more students there apparently, from my understanding, than initially expected. But day one, you can always expect things like this, and you learn from day one.
Mr. Paris expects the rest of the week to run smoothly.
People would by then have become a little bit more familiar with the facility here, and certainly we are giving more attention to some of those students who are writing external exams as well. For example, in our fourth forms, our entire fourth form would write the English A CSEC examination, and quite a number of our fourth formers are also writing the CSEC maths examination. So more attention is being given to them, so they have been allocated a few additional periods.
A team of education officials was also on hand at the SJPP. Senior Education Officer Joy Adamson thanked the Polytechnic for providing accommodations at this time.
And we were pleased that the majority of students, they are in attendance at school, and SJPP still accommodated us during this week, although they are also doing exams. So we are very much appreciative that they would have had to change around some of their rooms to accommodate the students, and we are hoping that the students will cooperate and obviously be as cooperative as possible during the time that they're here at the SJPP.
From the SJPP here in Wildy, I am Kishmar Saint-Gis.
Truckers and haulers parked their vehicles outside of the Sustainable Barbados Recycling Centre over in St. Thomas in protest after being turned away from the Vaucluse facility this morning. The proposed tipping fee came into effect today. As part of it, waste haulers are being charged $25 per ton or part thereof for solid waste to be deposited at either the SBRC or the Mangrove Pond landfill. The adequate number of tickets must be presented to the scale house attendant upon entering these facilities. When contacted, General Manager of the Centre, Anthony Paris, told CBC News that the company is working with government to implement the tipping fee. He says his operations were not affected by the action, noting that the issue is between the truckers and the Sanitation Service Authority. CBC News understands that the truckers and haulers met with Environment Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe and called off their protests afterwards. It's understood that the fee will remain in effect for about 3 months. Well, more news after the break, but first we want to get your take on this question. Do you believe the IMF is out of touch with the requirements of countries like Barbados? You can text yes or no to short code 8111 and we'll have the results for you at the end of our news.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
When you need freedom to express yourself, there's nothing like the home you own. Let Scotiabank open the door for you with advice and payment options that match your budget. Visit us today. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Take the 11 Plus Challenge to win an Android tablet from Atlantic Computers. There are 8 buns in a bag of Wonder whole wheat buns. How many bags should I buy to make 1 hamburger each for 20 children? A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, D, 5. Text A, B, C, or D to Digicel short code 2011.
Whoever said local football was just a kid's game.
Hello again and welcome to Extra Time.
Join Andy Akili Thornhill for comprehensive coverage of local and international football on Extra Time. Brought to you by the Barbados Football Association.
Remember, it's quite all right to whet your football appetite.
Extra Time, Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on CBC TV 8.
Make no mistake, when you're looking for the #1 source of the latest business news in Barbados, the region, and beyond, it has to be The Bottom Line, produced and presented by me, Ryan Broom, every weekday morning on CBC's 94.7 FM at 7:50 a.m. It comes to you with the kind compliments of the Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union Limited, reminding you to save smart and borrow smarter. So remember, make it your business to tune into The Bottom Line, the best source for business news on the radio.
Administrators of the University of the West Indies have been told to pay close attention to developments within the institution. The advice is coming from Vice Chancellor Designate and outgoing Principal of the UWI Cayfield campus, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles. Sir Hilary was speaking during a farewell dinner in his honor at the Errol Barrow Center for Creative Imagination at the campus last night.
I've always said to young scholars, if you are in the university and you take it seriously, pay attention. Pay attention to how your university is governed. Because if you do not govern your university, other people will govern it for you. And I've always said that also to academics. If we do not govern our university and govern it well, other people will be sent to govern it for us.
And Education Minister Ronald Jones commended Sir Hilary for his sterling contribution to the campus for more than a decade and told him he did a good job.
Not every person would have been happy with your style, your manner, the way you wanted to move the project forward, and therefore a few feet would have been stepped on. That is natural, that is nature, that's what happens to leaders. But the ability to say, you know, I'm sorry, particularly when the person then starts to buy in to the vision, you said I'm sorry, because the person now stands with you and works with you.
The Democratic Labour Party continues to engage in a number of activities to mark its 60th anniversary. More recently, the party hosted a special family and fun day at its George Street, Belleville, St. Michael headquarters. Prime Minister Frundell Stewart and Labour Minister Dr. Esther Beyer were among the party members on hand, greeting children and adults alike. Co-chair of the party's Fair Committee, Undine Whitaker, talked about the event.
It's called a 60s affair, and we are happy that it's part of our 60th anniversary celebrations, where we're celebrating 60 years of existence in Barbados and doing extremely proud and good work for Barbadians. So we are having a family evening this afternoon where we are celebrating and engaging the public and ensuring that the children particularly have a marvelous time. It is part of our week's celebration of our 60th anniversary, but throughout the year we're going to be having varying activities. This fair this evening is a culmination of the work of the Fair Committee, of which Mr. Sandra Ford is the chairman.
The number of fights at the Grantley Adams Memorial School has reduced significantly. This report came from the principal, Dennis Brown, while speaking to the media at the Founders' Day ceremony, which marks 60 years of the school's existence.
What has happened is that disciplinary matters are once dealt with efficiently, and once support is given to staff, one should give staff support in areas of discipline, then they feel more willing to work with you. It's a way of buy-in.
Mr. Brown also says the punctuality of students has improved due to the school's close relationship with the Transport Board.
Sometimes they just need for you to be behind them, to get behind them. So I sometimes to time I go to the bus terminal and ensure that they get on the buses. That has also improved their punctuality, because you know Mr. Brown will be coming around the corner and you don't know when he's going to be the bus stand. So you try to get over to the bus stand as soon as possible. And by working with the Transport Board, they have been able to provide us with additional buses.
Minister of Social Care Steve Blackett wants greater efforts made to build Barbadian families as he sees them as the most important institution in a child's life. He told the National Children's Service at New Dimension Ministries that parents, guardians and adults can make positive and enduring impacts on a child.
As Minister with responsibility for children and family matters, I believe that parents, guardians and adults generally have a responsibility to raise children in a manner that facilitates the transmission of positive values and ethics. For the adults gathered here and those listening, we need to ask ourselves the question, how are we doing? Are we appreciating our children? Are we recognizing their worth? The answer involves each of us learning, internalizing, and then demonstrating to our children positive values in all of our actions.
Mr. Blackett threw out a challenge to each adult this Child Month. He wants them to make a difference in the life of at least one child.
Appreciate his or her worth, since all of us, including children, have talents and strengths, even though not in equal proportions. By doing this one task of celebrating and appreciating our children, we will indeed be securing our best hope for the future and certainly for them.
Well, there's a call for local hotels to join the national effort to help rid the island's beaches of sargassum seaweed. It comes from General Manager of the National Conservation Commission, Keith Neblett. He spoke to the issue over the weekend as hundreds of Barbadians hit beaches as part of a national cleanup effort, mainly those on the south and east coasts.
We're trying primarily to keep those beaches that are heavily used by the Barbadian public, and to some extent those on the south coast that really impact in terms of tourism. Because we don't want to send a message next year is that the beaches in Barbados are that dirty that people don't want, not dirty, full of seaweed that people don't want to book. And I think we are trying to get that sense in terms of both the hoteliers themselves, where they help clean the beaches, and the Barbadian public.
Well, if there were any myths about young band leaders being disinterested in the Grand Kadooment Parade, at least one band is seeking to debunk them. The band Kosa intends to make its debut on the road this year on August 3rd with between 700 and 1,000 revelers. The costumes will be centered on the theme of regional integration. Band leader Jeremy Nichols says their sections are titled Pride, Serenity, Verve, Surge, Spice and Defiance. They will also be making a donation to charity.
Costa Barbados dares to go where none have ever gone before and launch its arm, Costa Cares. The empathy for our citizenry extends to the wider community as they masquerade for a charitable cause. This year, the gentlemen of Escort Entertainment, Costa Cares, embraced the opportunity to raise awareness and funding for the Barbados Diabetes Association in its revel with a cause.
Meantime, communications specialist at the National Cultural Foundation, Simone Codrington, commended them for bringing a Kadooment band at this time.
Every year, there are those who spark the debate about 4-day mourning and Grand Kadooment, even though we have long said that there's room for growth in both areas. So it is always heartening to see the emergence of new bands in the Grand Kadooment arena, especially when young entrepreneurs like yourself recognize the value of the product and the evolution of the festival. It helps to refute those claims that the younger generation is only interested in the 4-day mourning experience.
Still to come, we'll look at some of the stories making headlines across our region. But first, a reminder that we want to hear from you.